Hey, what is up? It is Ross Cessna from Spiritual Phoenix Studios here. It is December 31st of 2020, and on January 1st of 2020, I had started a gratitude jar, and every week, sometimes more than once a week, for the full year of 2020, I put one thing that I was grateful into this jar with the intention of looking back and reflecting upon it at the end of the year, right? And here we are. And I'm going to go through and read every single one of those. And as I do, I'm going to put it in this cauldron. And then later on tonight, I am going to take this out and burn everything that I was grateful for and kind of release all that gratitude into the air. And then I'm going to show you how to start your own at the very end, right? So let's get it going. First thing I was grateful for. This is from February 21st of 2020. I am grateful I can let go of my problems today. Previously, I kept reliving them. One of the cool things is over the past couple of years, I've learned the ability to leave my problems in that day and like kind of go to bed for the most part and say that was yesterday and start a fresh day every day. It's incredibly powerful to not stay stuck in the same bullshit all the time. And that took a lot of practice and I still don't do it perfectly. So. Okay. This next one is from December 13th of 2020. And this is, I am grateful for the foundation I developed and the help along the way. Honestly, like when I look at where my life was 4 or 5 years ago, I was destitute, wasn't able to pay my own rent, wasn't able to pay my own bills, didn't have any money, no real purpose, no direction, some ambition, but didn't really know how to actualize any of it. And over the course of consistent daily effort, my life has changed dramatically, and I was likely reflecting upon that when I wrote that. Let's get another one. There's no date on this one. I didn't date all of them. This one just says, I've been grateful I've been able to build a business. So I had first wanted to start building an online business in like 2012. And no clue what I was doing because I'd always worked in the culinary field, and it's been a hell of a long process, and I'm obviously like nowhere near where I want to be because there was time off and lots of other challenges that I faced in that period of time. But it's super awesome to see it coming to fruition, and even being able to have success on a small scale is more than most people ever achieve. So I'm already in like the upper percentile of people earning. It's just there's a big gap between me and the people that earn a lot, right? This next one is from July 19th of 2020, and it is, I am grateful to not be taking rejection in dating personally, right? Throughout most of my life, I took rejection in dating as a reflection of me rather than understanding that it just wasn't so much that I lined up with that person, and it was nothing to do with me as an individual. It was their own personal right or personal choice, right? Like it wasn't a reflection upon me necessarily. I didn't understand that for the long time, and it really, really messed me up emotionally trying to date. And then since having that awareness, trying to meet people is a lot easier, and still haven't found the right person, but having it easier will be helpful, right? Next one is from September 6th of 2020. I am grateful to be able to take on large projects. Again, like when I kind of began this big transition in my life, I didn't have a lot of wins under my belt. Like I had moved cross country and I had done some things, but most of the stuff that I had tried like never came to fruition. And a lot of the big things were like really, really poorly done, very poorly executed. And over the past couple of years, I've learned how to slow down, how to develop a logical plan to move forward with things, and how to organize things to be more successful and to limit opportunities for failure to kind of take place, right? And that ability allows me to take on larger scale projects. Like when I look at the things that I've accomplished from 4 years ago to now, I did like 150 plus hours of a podcast. I've sold over 800 tarot readings on Etsy alone. Like, it's phenomenal the things that I've done, and I'm really excited to see what else I can do moving forward, right? I mean, I self-published a book too, like in all of this, and this is previously like having a hard time even doing like the most basic of things. So July 13th of 2020, I just put I'm grateful to be alive. there is a lot of instances in my life where I probably should have died. A lot of poor choices that I've made, and even just a lot of health things that I've kind of skirted around. And I'm grateful for that. And even though this has been an incredibly challenging year in all sorts of ways for everybody, I'm grateful to have the wisdom of the challenges that I faced under my belt, and kind of the awareness of this year showed a lot of who people really were, for the better or worse, right? And I'm grateful to have the awareness to actually be present for that, and to make informed decisions based upon being able to look at life that way, right? And being alive, the other way I would say that is I'm grateful to be alive in the sense that I'm present with the highs and lows of life. And I try not to let either one of those directly steer my ship as much as I used to. This one is from February 1st of 2020. I am grateful to be learning my limits. And this is kind of funny, right? One of the big things for me in 2020 was really pruning off things that were siphoning my energy that weren't really necessary for me. And I think when I wrote that one, I was working on moving all of this information that I had compiled about tarot cards onto slides for like this massive course that I had built. And I think that's what that was about, right? Knowing my limits was saying I need to approach this differently, and then learning how to break large tasks up like that into smaller, manageable pieces. This one's super powerful. I'm grateful for the confidence I've cultivated in the face of adversity. So I don't talk about this a lot. I have autism. I was also diagnosed with all sorts of mental health issues. I have ADHD, all sorts of fucking problems, right? But all of those things, and facing those and addressing those and learning coping skills to get around that, has given me an incredibly robust set of tools that allows me to handle extraordinary circumstances substantially more gracefully than other people. And granted, there's little things that will cause me to have a fucking meltdown because of some of the conditions that I have. But overall, I'm able to weather larger scale things, I think, on a level better than most people. And I'm grateful for all of that confidence that's built up, because that's shown me that despite the challenges that life has handed me, I've built up enough wins in my cookie jar that, like, when things are getting dark, I can say, dude, you've overcome way harder obstacles than this. I've been through some shit, right? Like, I've been homeless a couple times. Literally had like a penny to my name, and that was like excluding all the debt that I owed. Like, I've been in some weird shit. October 31st, I'm grateful for perspective and my shadow. The perspective piece of this is just being able to integrate those things, like that adversity that I had talked about in the previous one, and seeing how much all of the things that I have been through have made me a stronger person. And then the shadow aspect of it is, when integrating my shadow and beginning to love the parts of me that were more challenging or that had been problematic at points in my life, or that I had just separated from, whether from shame or guilt or whatever, reintegrating with that and reconnecting with some of the things that I had let go of was really powerful, right? There's a lot of healing and learning to accept yourself, even the little cracks and flaws and all, right? And for a while, I was involved in a program where you were constantly trying to change those things, rather than learn how to live with them in a more healthy way. And when I switched out of that philosophy, life began to change in a big way. This is from October 25th. I'm grateful to know my needs and be able to voice them even if they aren't met. Again, for like a long time, I want to add this too. Like, this is unintentional. I think there's a lot of unintentional emotional abuse that goes on in our culture, and it's even more underlined for people that have underlying neurological issues, such as people with autism or ADHD, because there's other needs, like those conditions. I shouldn't say those conditions. ADHD specifically has been associated with some behavioral things that happen earlier on in life from external sources, maybe not giving you the attention that you need. And it doesn't mean they don't give you attention. it means they don't give you the attention that you need. So you develop things differently, right? You develop differently, and the ability to say, hey, this is what I need, and like to clearly identify what's creating the discomfort in you, and to be able to put a label on that, even if you express that to somebody and they don't specifically meet that need, the awareness of what that need is allows you to help determine who are the people that you want in your life. Because if people can consistently not meet that need, it might be something that you have to expect is an unrealistic need to be met, and then you shed it. Or it might be something that you understand is a realistic need that needs to be met, and then you stop hanging out with people that aren't capable of giving you what you need, or you put more boundaries in that relationship to eliminate the constant pang of that coming up, right? And it's not easy. Boundaries are a bitch, especially if they're with people, especially if you're establishing boundaries with people who have never known you to have any. This one's kind of all stuck together. I'm grateful for patience and perspective. And it's interesting that I use perspective again. So perspective in regards to patience is seeing the long game. And in terms of like running a business or whatever I've been doing, long game is incredibly important, right? Because when you think about it, I was listening to something of Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, speaking, and he was saying like they're thinking about the next couple quarters ahead, right? And when you're making choices in business or in life in that way, but you also have patience to understand that it might take a while to get to where you want to go, things are vastly, vastly different. Because you understand that maybe the challenges that you face in a day aren't that serious as you might make them otherwise. And when you see the long-term timeline of where you're going, you understand that the obstacles that you're facing are the catalyst that will propel you forward. Patience and perspective in combination are freaking ridiculous for what you can accomplish. Like next to intention, I would say that those are probably some of the more necessary things for like big magic. March 25th. I am grateful to be clean while this coronavirus pandemic is going on. I left the 12-step fellowship in July. I still don't drink, don't smoke pot. I have been using CBD hemp. Been really helpful for me in dealing with some of the conditions, especially because people with autism have issues with their cannabinoid receptors. So having something that's non-intoxicating to meet that need has been fundamentally life-changing. But I'm also incredibly grateful to not be a fucking drunk or like ridiculously disconnected from reality through all of this, because that would be impossible to make healthy and safe choices, right? And while I do appreciate a lot of the 12-step philosophy, I do think that one of the things that's shifted for me really is understanding that other people might have different needs, and maybe complete abstinence isn't the way for everybody, and that I just need to focus on what works for me, and CBD and not doing any of this other shit really works for me right now. I'm going to keep it that way, right? But I was also grateful for the time that I had in 12-step programs. So I don't know. But I also don't think it's sustainable long term. That's a whole different topic for a whole different time. Not going to get into it. Next one we have, this is interesting too, right? Because it's kind of contrary to the clean one, because technically for some people this wouldn't be clean. I'm grateful I started taking ADHD medication, and this is from November 22nd of 2020. So I started taking ADHD medication end of October-ish, beginning of November-ish, and it is a non-stimulant based type of antidepressant. And then again, like when I had read about ADHD over the summer and understanding a lot of the issues that I was still facing, in addition to some of the ones that CBD helped with, were relative to ADHD, and beginning to take medication and seeing how much some of the areas where I was bumping up against changed. And I want to be clear too, right? Like, I don't think that medication is necessarily the solution, but it's also worth noting that in terms of doing the quote unquote right things, like I was eating a diet that was helpful for ADHD and autism. I have a ridiculous like schedule of meditation and yoga and Tai Chi. Like literally doing all the things that you can do to help focus, and my mind just was not getting there. And then taking this medication and seeing how much differently my life is when my thoughts are organized, and seeing how much ADHD held me back my whole life, and how against this medication I was for so long. I'm floored at how much this has helped me. And this is another one of those things that I might not have ever found had I stayed in a 12-step program. And the quality of my life has exponentially increased as a result of that. And it's fundamentally helped the relationships that I have with every other person too, because I'm more present and I'm not so wonky sometimes. This one is from May 16th of 2020. I'm grateful for inner peace. And this is just the ability to be comfortable kind of despite everything else that's going around. And granted, I really do have a really good circumstance when I look at my conditions and I look at my life. Like, I'm incredibly privileged. But the inner peace aspect of that is having gratitude for those things and awareness of it, and actually bringing the gratitude that I feel for my circumstances into it. And that's part of the inner peace, right? Awareness of how fortunate I am and appreciation of the things that I have and the people that are in my life. To me, that kind of is inner peace. And that inner peace is even further developed as I begin to make different choices about how I approach business, how I approach life too, right? That was that April inner peace versus the inner peace of navigating all of this year, and being where I'm at now. This is from November 14th of 2020. I'm grateful to be able to slow down. This year has been a pause button for a lot of us in a lot of big ways. And for some people, it's been incredibly uncomfortable. As somebody who's naturally introverted and inclined to introspective thought, this has really been kind of a time to go within and do a lot of work and slow down and not be in such a rush to get anywhere, right? This is kind of the enjoy the ride. And around that time too is like when my sankalpa had switched. And a sankalpa is kind of like this meditative phrase that you say over and over again until it kind of manifests in your life. And when that shifted, there was a big shift in my consciousness too. And it's like, I'm still not fully aware of how much things have shifted, I don't think. It'll be curious to look back. Yeah. This next one is from September 13th of 2020. And this is, I'm just grateful for a slower pace. That's one of the other things too. Like when I really looked back on it, I spent so much of the earlier stages of the pandemic, like trying to work on things for the 12-step fellowship that I was in, that I was neglecting some self-care. And then near the end of my time involved in all of that stuff, I was so overcommitted to things and not getting anything back, and not getting like anything back emotionally that I needed, or not being able to get a break. And I was so freaking burnt out. So the slower pace of September was fundamentally amazing for me, one. And then two, when it transitioned into the slower pace of November, it was again like a totally different world. Like from this time last year till now, I can't even explain how much my life has changed, even though the external circumstances are fundamentally the same. Oh damn, dude. This is one of the people that I lost this year. This is from November 27th of 2020. Grateful to have known you, Julian. May you be in peace, man. This is somebody who I was kind of a mentor to from my time in the 12-step program. And him and I had parted ways before I had kind of left the 12-step program. And I'm not going to get into specific details, but he passed away as a result of some of his own choices. And it's fucking sad, dude. That's one of the people that I lost this year. And it's one of those bittersweet things where I do think that he's in a better place, and I think that he has found peace, but at the same time, I think he really sold himself short, and it's sad. But who knows? Maybe that's how it was supposed to play out. This one just says, I'm grateful to be able to appreciate reality for what it is. And that's kind of what this is too, right? In terms of my friend passing away, I'm grateful to see it for what it is. And in some terms, this is the end of his suffering, right? And reality isn't always that pretty, but sometimes there's always medicine within the poison, right? And the medicine aspect of that was he's at rest, and a lot of people aren't worrying about him anymore and worrying about what he's doing. Obviously, I think most people would rather have him here and worrying, but I think that ultimately he's more at peace where he is now, right? Yeah, and the other aspect of accepting reality for what it is in terms of there's so much denial of freaking reality this year that it's ridiculous, whether it's people like ignoring racism or people ignoring, I don't even want to get into specifics. You make your own calls about what I'm talking about. This one is from my birthday of last year, September 22nd of 2020. Woke up clear-headed and without a hangover for the 4th birthday in a row. I'm incredibly grateful for all the days that I woken up without a hangover, and I'm incredibly grateful that tomorrow I'm not going to wake up with a hangover. Literally, I'm going over my mom's after I record this. We're eating pork and sauerkraut. We're watching a TV show. I'm going to bring over some sparkling apple cider. I'm going to offer her a glass of that. Then I'm going to come home and read and go to bed at the exact same time that I normally do. So I can wake up tomorrow at the exact same time that I normally do at 4 a.m., do my morning routine, and then do my taxes. Get things set up to do the business taxes next year, rather. And I'm incredibly grateful for that because that's exciting to me to mature on a whole new level. This is from June 27th of 2020. I'm grateful to have the space to pause and care for myself. So again, much of my earlier life was predicated on the concept of go, go, go. And there was never a moment to stop and care, stop and really ask myself what I needed in a meaningful way. And because of never having that conversation or giving myself the attention that I desired, I consistently indulged in lots of substances that were harmful for me at those levels and created a lot of chaos in the life of those that I cared about and myself. And it also made a lot of the conditions that I have way freaking worse, right? So I'm grateful to actually take care of myself today, whether it be doing my self-care routine, whether it be taking the vitamins that I do or eating the fermented foods that I make, or just any of the shit that I do on a regular basis. I'm so grateful for that. This is from March 1st. I'm grateful for my persistence despite what many deem rewards for my investment. Wait, what? Oh, okay. So I'm saying I'm grateful that I've kept going despite where a lot of people might stop is what I was trying to say, right? In terms of people that read tarot, right? A lot of people are just trying to read tarot. They're not thinking of, I'm trying to read tarot to create an income source so I can actually have the pressure off of me so I can build projects that will create passive income streams and ultimately do what I love doing so I no longer necessarily need to rely on tarot. A lot of people aren't thinking about the end game, or their end game is so small scoped on what their potential is that they stay stuck, right? I'm grateful that I kind of know that, dude, this is the tip of the iceberg, and where you're at in 5 years or 10 years is going to be vastly different because it's already vastly different than what you anticipated it would be. These come up a lot, dude, and it's super funny. I am grateful for persistence and patience. Early on in my podcast, I did something called the philosophy of natural change. And the philosophy of natural change was predicated on that exact same concept of persistence and patience. So if you consider something like the Grand Canyon, it was a stream of water that gradually over the years just kept going in the exact same course, and eventually that carved out what is the Grand Canyon. And that was a very smooth, gradual process over time, right? But what a lot of people want is these big, quick, sudden shifts. And if you look at events in nature that happen very dynamically and quickly, they're called natural disasters usually, and they don't end well. That's not the energy that we want, right? We want the sustainable beauty of like the philosophy of natural change or persistence. This one is from July 6th. I'm grateful for the patience I've cultivated. We are in a culture of instant gratification, and I was incredibly bad. I would say that there's still times now where I can be incredibly bad, but it's exponentially better than what it was. And the way that I deal with the anxiety that arises as a result of that is incredibly different too. So it's wild to kind of see how that's unfolded, and I'm floored by all the effort that I put into getting it and seeing it pay off. There's still work to be done. Oh, this is from December 29th through January 5th of last year. I am grateful to have taken the week off. Throughout all of my time of doing this stuff, I've been really shitty about really giving myself meaningful time off. What generally happens is I get burnt out to a point of collapse, and then I have to take time off. And then through the course of this year, I've gotten better at just understanding what my needs are and when I need to step back and what I need to let go of and when I need to pivot. It makes all the difference in the world. This is from July 26th of 2020. I am grateful to be able to let go. That's from when I left NA. That's from when I left the 12-step program. And it had run its course. And for me, a lot of the philosophy and a lot of the things that we're expected to tell ourselves on a regular basis weren't conducive to growth, and they were becoming very counterintuitive to logical thought too. And one of the things they tell you is you can't be too stupid for a recovery, but you can be too smart. So they'll tell you like not to think too much, but they'll tell you to have an open mind. It's really, really weird when you look at how contradictory a lot of the philosophy is. And if you're in it, I'm not knocking it. Do what works for you. Like 100% follow your heart, whatever works for you. For me, it stopped being effective. This is from April 4th of 2020. Today, I'm grateful for the amount of technology for personal development. And by that, I mean like different audio programs that I've leveraged. I mean the ability to have like binaural beats. Like I use binaural beats when I sleep. I use them sometimes in the morning. I use them sometimes when I'm waking up, when I'm working. And what that does is it naturally tunes my brain to a different frequency. So I can put it in like an alpha state or like whatever state I need to be in. I can put my brain in that. And it like doing it how I've done it is literally training my brain to think differently. So it's helping me become more focused along with everything else that I'm doing, right? This is from January 12th of 2020. I am grateful to slow down and infuse rest into business. And again, that's like been a big theme. So patience and rest and slowing down are kind of like the big buzzwords for me from last year. This is from May 31st. I'm grateful to be patient today. Patience, rest, patience, slowing down. Big words of the year. This is from October 12th. I'm grateful to have time to grow. This is one of the things that I didn't necessarily understand either, right? So rest is actually what we need in order to grow, and a lot of us like never really understand that. If you look at the word recreation, it literally has a recreate in it. And what is recreation? It's like taking time for rest and fun. So in order to grow, in order to recreate yourself, you have to rest. And it's just like a bodybuilder, right? They don't lift weights every day. They will lift weights, or they don't lift weights on one particular set of muscles every day, on the same set of muscles every day. Holy shit. They pick particular muscle groups that they work and they let the other ones rest. That's kind of what we have to do with our lives as well, right? This is from April 25th of 2020. Grateful to be clean and present. Still grateful to be clean, still grateful to be present, right? I'm all here as much as I'm going to be, and I'm grateful for that whole experience because life could be way different. September 19th of 2020. Grateful to have self-control. And by self-control, that's the ability to make wise choices despite maybe what I want to do. And that's also the ability to know what I need to do and not necessarily have to have it dictated by outside forces, right? That one's kind of simple as well. Let's see. Oh, this one's like a little book here. This is from November 8th, 2020. I'm grateful to be able to relax, if only for a moment. That's kind of dramatic. And I must have felt rushed because of the holidays and stuff. I think at that point, my mom and I were trying to plan to do something else before we pivoted another way with our website. So I think that's kind of what that was about. This is from September 1st. I'm grateful for healthcare. Yeah, I'm still grateful for healthcare, right? The ability to have my health needs taken care of and covered with a relatively without hassle, I think is incredibly important. And I think that that's one of the things where everybody should have access to healthcare. Probably important. Probably. This is from February 8th. I'm grateful to have a better understanding of my own limitations. That's another thing, I guess, that would be a theme of last year. Understanding my limitations, rest, patience, perspective, growth, presence, clarity. This is from May 23rd. Today, I am grateful to have a full day off. And probably for the first 3 years of everything, I don't think I ever necessarily had a full day off. There was always something going on. And that was one of the things that kept me going. This one, there's no date, but it just says, I'm grateful for the love I'm learning to breathe into my life. And honestly, that came from a lot of soul searching and from learning how to be a better person to other people. My mom is my business partner. She's also probably one of the people that I have a more challenging relationship with, not because she's not probably one of the people that I care about the most, but because there's just, how do I want to put this? It doesn't matter who it is, but there's ways that situations can show up or old wounds that were unintentional that can create lasting ripples. And then with having some of the conditions I do, I'm naturally going to have more challenging relationships with anybody. And with things like a business that's already heated, that's a really there's a lot of issues there, but my mom and I have been able to work through it, right? So I'm grateful to be able to show up with that more. And part of that is her own grace in handling me as well, right? This is from April 13th of 2020. I'm grateful to be able to reach more people. And I'm trying to think what that was in relation to. I mean, I guess maybe social media, or it was potentially when I was doing the the Zoom 12-step meetings. But regardless, I'm grateful to have a larger platform for my voice and to be able to share more of what I've learned with other people. And not so much because I think that I have something for everybody, but because I do know that my message is very finely tuned for some people. And some people, if they didn't hear what I had to share, they might not hear what they needed to. So that's why it's important. Not because I'm special, but because my story will connect with somebody in ways other people's can't. So this one is from December 5th. I'm grateful to be present in my own life. And that's one of the things too, right? Just being mindful of where I'm at and understanding the journey that I've been through and understanding everything that I've seen and understanding there's a whole lot more to life than I ever knew before. And I'm only beginning to uncover it now. And there's a lot more than I can see even now. This is from August 24th. I'm grateful for moving on. And again, that's about NA, right? I'm grateful to let that go and to push forward with something new and to let go of the fear that was kind of keeping me there, because fear is a big mechanism that they use to keep you there. They say if you don't do that, you're going to die, you're going to ruin your life, you're going to end up in the psych ward, you're going to go to jail. That's kind of fucked up. That's emotional abuse in a real way. This is from May 3rd of 2020. This just says, today I'm grateful for the ability to talk to family. We did a couple family Zoom calls at that point. And it was just cool to hear what everybody was doing, right? There's some people in my family that I don't talk to often. Part of autism is not really maintaining that good of connections. And then also just part of living a busy modern life is sometimes you don't necessarily think to talk to everybody that actually matters. So I'm grateful for when that does align and it does happen. And with doing the meetup group that I've been doing, it's been happening more, right? Because my family checks it out. This is from March 29th of 2020. I'm grateful for technology. I was honestly a technophobe like several years ago. Not several, it would have been 2011, 2010. And it was from like just the state of mind that I was in and like seeing how technology was going. And then learning to utilize it wisely and leverage it and use it as a tool of helping other people has fundamentally shifted. And then seeing how much simpler it can make my life or how much more it can give a voice to important things has been mind-blowing for me. And I'm so grateful that like I've gotten over that fear and how much it's been able to help even just maintain connections with other people throughout all of this. This is from June 20th of 2020. I'm grateful to be able to reset my day. And by that, I mean, it used to be if something bad went wrong in a day, it was wrong the whole day. The whole day was ruined. The whole day was shit. Everything was miserable and fuck you. But now if things kind of go south, and again, I don't do this perfectly all the time. Don't ever think that I do anything perfectly all the time, because I will remind you that I don't. But for the most part, if something goes wrong in a day, I can normally like let it go and just move on, depending upon what it is. This is from April 18th of 2020. I'm grateful for the help I've received. And even despite like leaving 12-step programs and having my feelings about it like I do, I'm grateful for all the people that took the time to help me. The guy who is my former sponsor, even though I don't talk to him anymore, I'm grateful for the help and guidance that he gave me. I'm grateful for the people associated with the National Alliance of Mental Illness who kind of helped me on this journey. I'm grateful for the friends and family that have helped me on this journey. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have spoken about my experiences to like police and crisis intervention trainings and stuff like that early on, because it fundamentally like gave me the confidence and courage to be doing what I'm doing now, right? I've had a lot of people give me a lot of chances and put me in a lot of situations that I would have had no other experience for, and I'm so grateful for that. This one, this is from June 7th. I'm grateful to be able to say no. People pleasing was a learned trait from my family, and it's a horrible learned trait because when you try to please everybody, nobody ends up happy generally. So the ability to say no and to not feel guilty about it, which is easier said than done sometimes, is life-changing, right? To be able to set boundaries and say, this isn't what I'm doing. This one's funny. This is from March 8th. I'm grateful for warmer weather. And this is actually before the lockdown. This is like right when the lockdown was beginning to happen. So it was just the ability to like be able to go outside again, I guess, because it was cold last winter. It wasn't even that bad. Like when I look at it, I'm like, dude, suck it up, Ross from a year ago. What the hell are you doing with your life? This is from March 16th of 2020. I'm grateful for patience and persistence despite overwhelming odds. And by overwhelming odds, I mean people with autism generally have more challenges, right? In regards to overwhelming odds, people that go into internet businesses generally fail. Most businesses generally fail. Internet businesses at a higher rate. The ability to come off the other mental health medication I was on at one point and be successful, the ability to like reprogram myself based upon like completely losing my shit at periods in life. Like it's taken not only a shit ton of effort to get to where I'm at now and like a ridiculous amount of patience and persistence, it's taken an incredible amount of luck too, because I could have done all of this stuff and still not had the opportunities or the people come into my life to make it happen, right? So it's funny because people will say like, you have this or you have that. And it's like, I don't ever want to sell myself short and not honor my own gifts and my own talents and my own abilities. But there's like a sense in like true humility of saying, I didn't do this alone, and I'm really grateful. This one is from June 14th of 2020. I'm grateful to be anxious about new things. And I would say excited now. I would change that word to excited. Like, it's fun to actually feel stuff again. Because there was a long period in my life where I didn't feel anything, good, bad, anything. Like, it was all just blotted out. So even to be able to feel uncomfortable is awesome. This one is from 12/27, so this is still fresh. I'm grateful my grandma passed peacefully, right? My grandma passed of COVID at 92 years old on, actually on the Great Conjunction, the day of the Great Conjunction. And that was kind of significant because she was always involved in the metaphysical stuff, right? And although she wasn't conscious and like didn't know, she knew like on that level, and she left shortly after the Great Conjunction happened. And a couple days before she passed, she just said she was ready to go, and I consciously had told her like, it's okay, Grandma, go. And like, I wanted her to be at peace. So I'm grateful that she was able to go, and that it was peaceful, and that I made the right choices, and I was very present in her life, as much as I could be, and very present in my grandfather's life, because there are two people that had tremendous influence on who I am, and the interests that I have. And there's no way that I can ever thank them enough, and there's no way that I can ever disconnect from the lessons that I've learned from them. And both of them had very beautiful circumstances to how they were able to pass peacefully and with dignity. And even my grandma specifically, like, she was in the nursing home because it was challenging for everybody to take care of her. It actually ended up being the perfect place for her too, because she was on the first floor. And although if she would have been in a hospital, we wouldn't have been able to go see her. But like, we were able to go up to her window and see her in the room and stuff like that, while she was still healthy, and then while she had COVID. So a lot of people didn't get that, right? And I don't know, it's those little things like that that just mean a lot to me, because so many people got cheated of that. But like, that was a true blessing to be able to be present, even though it wasn't what I wanted. And to understand that she was getting freedom was powerful too, right? So if anybody else lost people to COVID, or even to like the other person I had lost to substance abuse, like, I'm there with you, right? No matter who you lost to, like, this has been a challenging year. This one is good though too, especially right after that. September 27th, I'm grateful for perspective and grounding. And again, perspective is seeing my grandma live 92 long years. Like, she went out as she could. My friend Julian did the best that he could. And the grounding aspect of it is, as much as we might not like it, death is a part of what we signed up for when we came onto this planet. And beginning to make peace with it, and not being afraid of it, and to allow yourself your grieving process, but to also understand that those people would want you to celebrate who they were rather than cry about what you're missing. That's potent medicine. And again, I'm not telling you how to grieve your own circumstances. Everybody needs to grieve their things their way, but I need to say what my perspective is on that in particular. I'm just grateful to be able to slow down my pace, and that is from October 19th of 2020. So again, the slow down aspect of everything. And this one is from December 20th of 2020. I'm grateful to be able to work through my problems. It used to be when something was challenging, I would stop. When I heard that something was hard, I would give up. If it was uncomfortable, I would quit. If it was difficult, I would say, fuck it, right? So the ability to push through things, even though it's not the easiest, is life-changing, because really everything you want exists on the other side of the problems that you're facing. This is from August 9th of 2020. This is after I left NA too. I'm grateful for perspective and to know what's good for me. Because one of the things that they kind of tell you is that, like, the way you see situations is wrong. So you need other people in that group to tell you kind of what to think. But it never looks at the fact that if what you think is wrong and you're part of that group, isn't it likely that you're giving other people wrong information? So I don't know. I'm just grateful that I'm out of that whole circle. Now, the jar is empty again, right? And if you notice, there is a sigil there. So one of the cool things is I put this sigil on there, and this whole year I've been charging this sigil with gratitude. And this sigil is kind of like a big overall arching like life goal, because there's like a lot of little sigils in there. And I'm going to start a new jar for this next year because I really enjoyed this process. But what I do is I normally set a 1 to 2 word intention for the year. And the intention that I'm going to set for next year is mindful communication. I'm going to write 2021 intention. Mindful communication. And as you can see, and I scribbled that because I messed it up, but it doesn't really matter. And we're just going to fold this up and throw it in the bottom of the jar. And then here in 365 days, we will look back and see what else goes into mindful communication and what I'm grateful for next year. So I look forward to seeing you then. And I hope that you and those that you care about have a happy and safe new year. And really do this if you haven't already. Like if you have time, even though you're probably seeing this video whenever, start it then. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. You can always go for the full year next year. You can make some up. Like do it, because this experience of literally reflecting on everything that I was grateful for in one of the most challenging years, if not the most like externally challenging, I can't even say that, one of the challenging years of my life, if I'm able to find all that gratitude in it and like feel good about it, how much will that hit different on a year when things are freaking awesome too, right? With that said, thanks so much for checking this out. Stay safe. Peace.